Well. Welcome to a brand new episode and brand new series called Heart Centered Marketing. My name is Joey Ragona. We are still at 7 o'clock every single Tuesday, and I'm going to have amazing special guests here. Welcome to the show. Episode number one, kind of the reset going into this. And it's kind of weird to say episode number one after doing 200 about 200 episodes, like been on live for 4 years. And if you're just wondering, where my buddy Scott is, he's been here for, 3 years with me, and just was at a point where he just needed a little bit of a physical and mental break because he wants to just focus on his business. And I respect that. And as you know, he and I've been doing that for 3.5 years or so, consistently every single Tuesday. So I get it. I totally understand and respect my buddy Scott. That's why you don't see him here today. That's why we're changing up the format just a little bit, because I'm just going to be bringing on some amazing guests, regular guests, and having still amazing conversations around heart-centered marketing and all of that really cool stuff. So with that, I want to introduce my first amazing guest, Lorna Scott. She has been with me forever as well. In the background, a lot of times you've seen her once in a while, but now she's here in the spotlight. Hi, Lorna. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Joy. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for asking me. This is
Yeah.
ex-
Sorry, you said
I just said it's exciting to be here on
it
this side.
is. It is, isn't it? In the
Yeah.
spotlight. Here we go. We're going to be talking a lot about the stuff that we talk about behind the scenes, and I can't wait to hear some of your insights about your marketing. We met. Share a little bit about how we kind of got together, how we met. And
You want me to start at the beginning?
just shorten it up, but it's kind of funny how we became like really great friends when it didn't really start out that way in a matter of sense. So share share that little story.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Joy. Um, we're both PLF owners, and which is product launch formula for Jeff Walker's. He's just going through a launch. Maybe you've heard of him, or PLF owner yourself. And so you were starting to be active in the group, but it was really content marketing. And it drove me absolutely crazy because it was like, what's he doing? He just wants to get clients. And it was just, the content marketing was over the top. Um, and like, I really didn't like you. And then you offered the right marketing copy, and I didn't jump in at the first time, which was like a super low price. And I went like, really, what could this guy teach me anyway? Uh, and then I thought,
Ooh,
like,
wow. Wait, I'll wait until all six of them and then I'll give them back to you. When they're all six of them in my back, it's like, I'm kidding.
so then I thought, well, chances are copies may be one of my weaker spots. So maybe I will actually think about right marketing copy. And lo and behold, Joey, the price is never this low again. Ragona is true to his word. And here comes right marketing copy, but it's more. And so I bought it because obviously he sticks to his word. And then that's, I think, where we likely got to know each other better. And I've kind of been hooked, jumped into Dream Client Connection and Atlas. And both times did it the first time because I knew it was never going to be that price again.
Yeah.
So you totally had my trust there. Yeah, and I mean we've just become good friends and support for each other, and it's been wonderful. I am so grateful and blessed to have you in my life.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you. And you've done, maybe many people don't know, but you are totally helping me on the back end of the business as well, because you are this process person who sees things that I don't see. And so I'm really grateful for that as well. So I want to give you props for that. But I want to go back to, what you said at the beginning was, the whole content marketing thing, which is kind of funny because you're absolutely right. And these are the things where I still see it to this day. And I remember doing all of that, and then the switch happened, and and you just see that when you're doing that kind of thing, like how people perceive you. And I didn't know until now, until that you still didn't really trust Uncle Joey when you were still in my world and getting into right marketing copy. I thought that we were already buddies, but maybe not. That's all. It's all good.
Oh, yeah. Well, you had enough trust for me to pay you,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I mean, we were both doing Facebook ads at like when you
Yeah.
were doing, like, I don't know where that fit between the content marketing, but we were both doing Facebook ad campaign management for people and coaching. So, we were almost competitors in that little bit. And then you made that like the switch to doing more of the coaching, um, somewhere in there, that
Hmm.
happened for you. It took me a
Yeah.
couple of years to follow you.
It's all good. It's all good, and everything happens for a reason. So I thank you for that. Um, and so tonight, what I want to do is I want to switch gears here. I want to talk about the three, I think the most critical components, the three critical insights that we need to know about our customers, about our dream clients, because I know that you're right now doing market research. Like not many people like the words market research, but um, I'm you as you know I'm addicted to it because of maybe just the habits that I put into place, and because I know that it's so critical to have the right language and the understanding what they're all about. And there's so I want to share what those are. I know you know what they are, but I want to share with the audience what they are, and then we'll talk about them. And
Okay.
then I want to know what you're doing in terms of the market research right now, and maybe some insight on how you're doing it. Are you becoming more, you know, more addicted to it, or do you like it a little bit more, like all that kind of stuff? So, the three components that people need, I believe that we need to know, are beliefs. We need to understand what people need, what do they believe about everything, about their audience, their dream clients, about themselves, about the industry, like everything, about us. We also need to understand their desires. And the desire is a big one because this is one that I think that a lot of us miss, or a lot of marketers miss. They just don't go deep enough to understand what the true desire is. Like wants and needs, I guess you could call those desires, but the wants and desires that I see in marketing are the real surface level stuff. And I think desire is below that. And I'd love to know your opinion. And then the feelings. So if anybody's playing the home game and want to write those down, those are the three things that we're going to talk about today. So belief, desires, and feelings are the three main things. There are more stuff that you could do. But if you're not really into this whole market research stuff and like, oh, I know these components, if you just get these, even a couple of them, you're miles ahead of everybody else. I promise you this. And then I'm going to add in another little bonus here that is not part of this formula, because this comes from, I think it's Mark Ford who really did this first. It's been intertwined between Rich Sheffrin, and I know you know Rich really well. You work with him and stuff. We work with a lot of great people, so I know that you have a lot of great insights. Who else had this? That name is escaping me. It'll come back. But I want to add another one to this formula, which is obstacles that people are like what they think is the obstacles. And I think you could still put that under beliefs. What do you believe is an obstacle to get you there? But I like to separate it from myself. Like what are you saying the obstacles are from you to get to where you want to go? I'll leave it there and I'll turn it over to you.
So I don't know where do you want me to start with the
Wherever you feel
I feel
whatever comes to mind.
whatever comes to mind. Well, you I was starting to think about the research that I've been doing, and in that, like what it is like for their beliefs and their desires, um, and thinking, where am I at with that? I think where I'm at with my own research is that I'm getting the feelings, um, but I know that I'm missing pieces, and so that's in I was going through, what if I found out that I could put into those columns, what is the belief, what are the feelings, what are the desires, uh, because that what I've been finding is that my responses to, like, invitations to a free group call and invitations to the program starting September 20th. Like that, it's not going, as what I'd hoped it would be. Um, so I can see going back where I could be asking some different questions for them. And thinking I was just on a call with Rich. So like going, what can I do now? Like, what are the next steps? What can I be doing to make some of this go forward? Uh, but that belief is so important, because if they don't believe that they can change, if they don't believe that they need what you have, um, it's so critical. I don't know if this fits right here, but it is my head right now, because one of the things that I realized, and I just wanted to say this because I think that there's other people that have done this as well. I'd be surprised if there wasn't. Is that when I started this round of market research, and what I'm doing right now is researching for widows who have been widowed for over 2 years, or maybe, and some of them, it seems to be more attractive to the ones who are over 5 years. But I'm not hitting something. Like, I'm still not getting what I wanted. And I just realized as I was going through some of what I've already done that I was still wanting to do market research based on who, based on who it was that I wanted, which is what we need to have. But it was still in the background running what it is that I want to offer them, as opposed to doing market research to find out exactly what they want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would miss their beliefs and their feelings and their desires,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not asking the right questions. I'm not looking for the right things. I'm leading them in a direction
Right.
that I want them to go. So just, I totally say I've got information and data, but I screwed up some of that stuff. And I don't want anyone else to be screwing any of that up as well.
I
Because
appreciate that.
I'm not going to get their beliefs and feelings and desires if I'm not actually just being open to what they say.
Yeah, I think that one of the hardest parts about this is like, not only, it's not really about, I'm not saying we shouldn't ask questions, right? But it is kind of where at least the way I approach this, my first struggle was, okay, I'm looking for beliefs, desires, and feelings. Okay. And looking for those words like in conversations or whatever. And by the way, when we're saying conversations, this is really important for everybody listening, is like, when we say conversations, it doesn't matter what that conversation is. It could be a chat, an email, you're looking on a Facebook group and you're reading someone else's post and someone else's thread or answers and stuff. So now in my brain, like, I've made this as like a habit and asking myself a question. So I'll read your response to somebody else's whatever. And I'll ask myself, is this a belief? Is this a feeling? Or is it a desire?
Mhm.
That's the first question that comes to me. And by the way, let me go back a step, because I'm in Atlas mode now. As you know, it's coming up in a couple of weeks. And this is one of the core exercises we do. So for everybody listening, whether you are in Atlas or not, doesn't matter. But I want to give you one of the processes that I like to teach everybody about this. And so this is the one thing is like looking wherever you're engaged in like a conversation or reading a thread or something like that, and you're actually absorbing it. I believe you need to take that information, copy it, and paste it into a document of some kind. We call it, the copy bank. And that's the first habit. Once you get into that habit, and you don't have to do anything with it right now, like, just get into that habit. I'm engaged with this, or I responded to this, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And then the next question would be that, okay, and then when you go back to analyze it, which, we talk about progressive summarization, and I took that from Tiago Forte and all that stuff. But that's when I go in and ask myself the question, is this a belief, desire, or feeling? So I want to clear that up for anybody listening, because it's not at the process of capture, because that will screw us up. Because then, as you know, you've been in right marketing copy, And it's the same thing for market research. It's like, well, do I need this? And what am I going to do with this? And how am I going to use this? If you're questioning yourself at that point, it totally messes you up, and you may waste hours trying to find the the belief, desire, or feeling. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. The process of doing that, like right marketing copy style kinds of like capturing the data, is so helpful. And I do think that there's different kinds of ways. At least I'm in a different. I've got some different things that I'm working on with the market research to gather into that copy bank. Um, but finding the beliefs and the feelings and desires doesn't have to be really tricky.
Yeah.
We just have to be know what we're looking for. And just you had mentioned about not answer, asking questions, because generally with the market research, I'm doing it as you mentioned, with you're looking for that information, you're looking for the conversations, you're not necessarily engaged in the conversations. Um, and that's where we get a lot of the gold, because people are just saying exactly what they want.
Yeah.
And without having that being able to capture it and anal- do quickly analyze. I think that's what I like about that progressive summarization, and just getting that block in and getting the things copy and pasted, because I do get bogged down sometimes going, okay, I need to go back in now I need to do market research. This has been one of the bad habits, that now I need to do market research. So now I'm going back looking for old posts. Uh,
Right. Right.
and, and to be honest, I've started a whole new collection. Some people collect, like my mom likes collecting teapots, collect spoons. I am collecting Facebook posts from the Grief and Relief Widow Group.
Right. Right. See,
They're
you
all
are
in my saved
becoming
folder.
naturally addicted to it, which is great.
So, well, except that I've got them all in a saved folder on Facebook. I haven't gone back into each post. Well, I did actually. I have gone back in um, to most of. Well, I got partway through it anyway, of going through all of it at once. But I could have just grabbed it and put it into a document. Like I've created an extra step that I don't need to do. Um, but at least I'm not going back into the whole group and scrolling through the whole group. I've
Yeah, I
already
mean
picked.
that's still a
I've
good
already
step because you know
curated.
where to go. Like if you wanted
Yeah,
now, if you took an hour of your time and say, I'm going to just take this hour and copy and paste as much as I can, it's all in one place. So that it's not really an extra step. You're
yeah.
saving yourself.
It's helped me a lot doing that.
Hmm.
uh, and but the difference for me right now, in because I'm doing a little bit of different market research, because I have my own Facebook group, and at the moment that Facebook group doesn't do a lot of conversation on their own. So I am doing different posts of my own to get them to say certain things, which is good. uh, what And I don't know. Yeah, what I did yesterday, which is really helpful for me, for my group, I wanted to find out something specific, which was how many years had they been widowed, because of where I thought I was off base. I thought I thought that there was something there that I hadn't been willing to see before, as far as who was there. So that was kind of my own, it's almost like demographic research, part of the market research. So I did a poll and got, and like, I don't know, I had almost 200 people respond to it. So it
Wow.
it 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 was really helpful for me. And then it led to the question. This is one of the only times, and I did hesitate, because it's not necessarily what we would do in Atlas, but for this it worked, because the initial poll question was saying that I wanted to find out what they were wanting, because how to serve them better, how to help them better. um, and I'd already been posting that there had been, there's that I'm working on a program, so it's not news to them. And then I just added the question, then if they did make a comment instead of the poll, which I don't know, about 70 of them did. I just asked them the question then, that if I did create something, whatever, I had a list of things, but what would be one or two topics most interesting to you. So it was like, oh, the light bulb kind of went on. If you want to know what they want,
Right.
sometimes just ask them.
Right. Go figure. It's it's crazy. Like the
So,
audience knows much more than we do.
but I didn't see that opportunity. Like this isn't something that I just saw on a webinar or, um, you know what, like it wasn't something that, I thought I had to follow this strategy or anything. It was truly something that just unfolded because I didn't have the data, enough data to make good decisions, is what I was feeling. And to be able to identify what I can do from here on in. And so not only do I have the data that I need to know about where they're at in their own journey, um, it also then gave me the opportunity to ask what they want, which I thought was a, it's, I, I don't know. I think I've got maybe I had 8, 10, 12 maybe answers on that so far. So I don't know if I'll get more, but at least it's additional information. Um,
Is
so
there
they
like a
are,
process that you do now to like to grab the information, like you're um, anything that you can share to help anybody else if they're looking for doing research? Like, how are you doing it? Because you
how am
said
I?
now like you saved something in a Facebook group. That's a cool idea as saved posts, right?
Yeah. So if I'm from the saved post, then I go back into each post and I look, because it's a very active group. Like it's a very active group. So there's often like 10, 12 comments to some of the, if not some of them are 40. I just grab the comments and I've put them into, right now I've got them put into a Word doc.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go through the Word doc and I do the summarization of looking for the beliefs, the feelings, and the desires
Mm-hmm.
uh, through there. But the first time I go through, I don't, I just highlight anything that looks like it would be
Yeah.
part of that data. And then I go back through and look specifically for beliefs and look specifically for feelings
So do
and
you mark
desires.
them on your doc in a certain color, or how do you know?
I do them in color. I change the colors
Okay.
for them. I did. I know that when I was working for some ad clients, there were times that I didn't even go to the colors. Like I just knew exactly what I was looking for because I was looking for something specific. But the colors really make a big difference to be able to just uh,
Yeah.
put them in, because I have been putting them, into the next Word doc that would have them broken out into those sections, or sections similar to that. But I know
Yeah.
we've talked about using an Excel sheet and just be able to, so
Yeah.
if it's,
Like, yeah. So that's like what I wanted to talk about because, I've been doing, I'm always looking at how do I make this easier for everybody else that who don't really want to do the things, but want access to the information. And in right marketing, like, and what we're doing is moving over, just so everybody knows, is like you have this big document and you get this whatever's summarized, which is basically bold and bit bold in color, you separate all those out. It's kind of like sifting, right? Like you keep the original doc, and then you sift out all the gold, and that goes into a one other doc, which is now all of the gold, and and then you might want to separate that into like headings and sections, I guess. The problem that I found, and maybe it's true for you, is that even though you have them colored or whatever, they're in a section, it's labeled as a belief or something, right? And it could also be other things. That's the challenge. And so with the spreadsheet, and this everybody can take this idea, is you then put those into a spreadsheet, like one column at a time, one row at a time, I should say. And then on the columns you have with what I built for Atlas, which is just a B, D, F, and an O for obstacles, and then you just put X's all the way through, and you can mark them if they were all. If you believe it's a belief, great. If you believe it's also a desire, put it in that, and then you can sort it very easily. So give me all of these, like the X's here in D whatever, and sort them so they're all at the top type of thing. And then now you're looking at all of those desires, but they could also be beliefs. So this way you have this organizational system that can yeah, be used anywhere. It can be in part
Yeah.
of all of those four pieces, and then anything else you want to add, to that those other columns of how you want to, like, what is it, like, me, I like the empathy map. I'll say, is it part of that? Is it? And then we have the atlas questions. Okay, is it a 90-day question? Is it like, so you can have
Yeah.
all these columns and whatever data that you want to mark that specific result, or
Yeah.
right, you can have it all across.
It that makes so much sense because I had Word document of like that second Word doc would be start get really long because I
Mm-hmm.
would copy and paste into each section so that I like might copy the same comment and put them into the all three sections or
Exactly.
so then the document gets really really long.
Yeah.
And if you just have the spreadsheet where you could just have the comment once and just have, the X's or the check marks or whatever it is saying that it's this, or this, or all three, or all four,
Yeah.
makes it way easier
Yeah.
to go and grab it. And I
Yeah.
mean, we talked about the like doing that research, and I mean the reason we do it is so that it's easier to write.
Mm-hmm.
Like whether you're writing Facebook posts or um, you're writing an email, you're writing like your invitation, like whatever it is, like it's it just makes it easier to write when you're using their words, and it's they I mean, and they love it, right? Like when you have their words, they are attracted to it. So it makes all
Well,
this work up front saves a whole pile of time
yeah.
at the end.
Yeah. 100%, because even today, I was writing a post and also summarizing, not really summarizing, but coming up with a USP or whatever for Atlas, right? Like, what is Atlas? Because I guess it's part of the post. Like, what is it? In two or three sentences, right? What is it? And I went right back to all of my feedback that clients gave, and remember, there's a question that I ask, which is, how would you describe Atlas? Right? That's one of the questions I ask after somebody's gone through it, and I have all of their how they would describe it. And I summarized all that and I put it into the thing, and then I read it to my wife. She knows a little bit about stuff, but she's not like right into it. I go, let me read this to you, and let me know if this makes sense to you as someone who is kind of outside of the thing. She goes, I totally get it. And that really made that made me happy, because it really wasn't any of my words. I was like, wow, okay, if somebody who's not really in it understands it, that's great. Yes, she's kind of connected, so there's a little bit of cheating there. Maybe I should go to my neighbor and say, let me read this to you. Do you understand what this means? But that, you're right. Like, this, for anybody listening, that's the, like, you're borrowing from the market, and giving it back to them in a way that they understand, because they've said it. And I just love that. And the other thing too is, I didn't feel any pressure to write anything, because I knew that I had this second brain that I could go to at any point and say, okay, what am I looking for? I'm looking for desires. And then I can pull all that up or whatever. And also, that frees your mind. It frees your mind not to hold on to the data. Because if you're trying to think, okay, I got to remember this is how they feel, and this is how their desires are, or this is what they're saying. And it totally, like, I don't care what anybody says, your brain is like holding on to that information. And that's taking space, which could be used for creative or for the detective work that you can go into somewhere else every day and look for something totally free, knowing that the thing that you got yesterday, the goal that you found, is saved, right? Like, the Einstein is like, whatever you can look up, don't hold in your, if you can look it up, then don't hold in your memory. And that, to me, it is where the detective piece, or the creativity, or the curiosity, is unleashed for me, because I don't hold anything in my brain anymore, pretty much.
No, you don't.
What are you saying? I'm I'm just a walking shell. It's like,
Oh, but you're only a notion click away.
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, that
It's
was
all
just
good. It's all good.
uh, but what struck me when you said you talked about just not having it in your head, because I think that what many people do when they, and I just had this moment, like, have I just been doing this as well? Like, even subconsciously,
Yeah.
is thinking, I already know. And I mean, that's what stops people from putting in this work, is
Yeah.
they think that they already know their dream client so well, they don't need to do market research.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so not true. We always know more. We can always, yeah, we just always need to know more. And it's surprising what they will say that we didn't expect, or we expected them to say something and it never comes out. And I'm, just wondering, even if I've fallen into a little bit of that myself with some of this market research, which in itself just is powerful. Because if I didn't do the market research, I might not have started looking at what I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and whether there's something I could do different. Is there somewhere I can look different? Is there something I should be gathering that's different? So doing the market research is a journey all in its own, and it's important to do it, because we don't know that. And especially if we haven't done any of this research, we don't really know what our dream client is thinking. We don't know what their beliefs are. We might think we do, and we might be close, but we don't have a good grasp on it, because we are already a few steps ahead of them, and that clouds what we're thinking. So it's that clearing the brain has to me, two valuable pieces to it. One is you don't have to carry that around all the time. You can just go find it and free up your brain for figuring out what you're going to do with the information.
Mm-hmm.
But it also can get out all the thoughts that you're thinking about your dream client that maybe aren't true or aren't quite accurate. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to carry them around anymore. You can go and figure out which ones stay and which ones can go.
Yeah.
So that's another way to just free the mind of all of those things and it can get that way when we're trying to figure out what are they saying? Like, where are those words? What do I do with them? Um, so yeah.
Here's
Anyway,
another thought that, as you were talking, by the way, if you're watching us live, let us know by hitting hashtag live or hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. And here is the Facebook group if you want to join us in our amazing Heart Centered Facebook group. This is where you go if you want to join a bunch of epic human beings. We are in there having conversations and marketing conversations, business conversations, entrepreneurship. No hard selling and anything that goes on in that group. Join us if you are heart centered, mission driven person. We'd love to have you there. So here's the thought. Because you brought up Notion, and I don't want to talk about Notion and all that stuff, and I think you can do this still in a spreadsheet. But one of the things that it's really important, I just realized by having this conversation, is how the beliefs, feelings, and desires, maybe not desire as much, but beliefs and feelings change over time. You know that we talk about, or love referencing the whole parade, like your dream clients are in a parade, like,
yeah.
learned that from Evan Pagan. Still want to give him credit for that, but they're always in this parade and they're always moving. And over time, even if they haven't done anything, years and years go by, or the pandemic hit now. So it's post-pandemic and it's but all these feelings and desires and beliefs change over time. And I know that because as I was doing today's post, I went back into all the regular document that I have, because I'm still moving things into the way that I like to have it now, in the rows anyway. And I used to have like things in like a one document with bullet points. And same thing. These are beliefs, these are desires, whatever. And I look back at some of the old data, and it really didn't resonate anymore. It really wasn't what people are saying. And the reason this is so important for you and anybody listening is that I'm just going to reference Notion because I know it does it. It has that created time field, right? That automatic
Yeah.
created thing. Okay. So imagine this. Imagine if you're addicted like me, and it doesn't have to be like obsessed, but you're like, okay, I'm going to copy paste, and then you have like 100 different desires, in there, and you're now you can go, okay, what are the latest ones? What's happening now? And sort it by created date. And that will give you, right, in order or basically in chronological, these are what people are what they now believe. And the other ones will be at the bottom. You can kind of reference them, but you'll probably see a change, especially if it's over years. And I think that's really a huge component that I just realized now is like, wait a minute, you can sort this now by what are the new ways they're saying that they have this
Mm.
obstacle or their new beliefs. What do you think?
No. Well, I think you're totally right on that. And what came to mind was, I mean, we just went through 3 years of life-changing isolation, life-changing for some people business, their lifestyle, uh, so much that has impacted us that I don't think that we even realize. To for many people, that it's had some kind of an internal impact that we haven't discovered. And I think that it impacts how everybody did. I mean, it impacted how they did business. It impacted relationships in lots of different ways. So that, I mean, that's on a big scale, but
Right.
things change. I our whole, everything changes. So the conversations are likely to change. There's likely, well, I don't know. I don't necessarily talk to a lot of people in my non-online life that talk about AI, but a few, like there's a few that talk about AI. So that's a whole different
Yeah,
conversation
that's
now.
a great example. That's a great example because that goes into beliefs and even feelings,
Hmm.
right? And so how can you reference that? I mean, you know as well as I do because you write copy too, and we're copy students and all that, and it's like one of the I guess one of the frameworks or templatey things that you can do on how to write content or copy is about current events, right? Like attach onto some current events and stuff. And this is what I do. This is like my current events. So every day I'm always getting at least one or two pieces of new insights about customers or about what they believe. Because, like you said, like things are changing. And thanks, Monica, for that post about the beliefs happening, changing. Like they're always changing. So, how does somebody look at what they're doing now in the world or towards your business or towards your product? How do they feel now? And so, referencing those new feelings and new beliefs are so, so important because, I think that especially for someone who doesn't like doing research and then they're forced to do it, they're like, okay, I got to go do this thing. And they do it and it's like set it and forget it. And that's a big mistake, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I know it's been one for me, and I've been tempted, um, because I did this widow research like 5 years ago and maybe 3 years ago. So I've got some older stuff there, and I've not gone back to it.
Yeah.
I've just not. I think that everything has just changed for so many of them anyway. I might, yeah, if the one was 3 years ago, I might go back to it. But uh, there's an evolution in our whole conversations, and
Right.
like it, and even in our markets, not just the conversations, but looking at the online market. One of the things that those 3 years did was bring more people online. So there's different people who are looking for courses, different than the ones who were looking for the same ones like 3 years prior. There's different people offering programs. There are different kinds of, like all kinds of things. Like that impact just continues to spiral. That we want to stay on top of where things are at.
Yeah, because I think that you know, it's not that we don't use and go back to that old data, and unless it's referencing a certain point in time, it might be irrelevant. But it's
Yeah,
rare that it's really like, oh, that's completely garbage. But and then there will be these main underlying fundamentals of their problems and challenges and desires that are always going to be there. That's they can carry forward, but it's
yeah,
more about like how they're expressing themselves, right, in their language, that is so so important. I mean, in my thing, and because you see it with Notion, there's a billion ways where somebody will say, I need to know how to get clear on my dream client. Like there's a billion
Mhm.
ways that they say it. And
Yeah.
it's like I'm not bored of that because it's not like when I look at somebody say and I say to them, "What's your challenge?" and they'll go, I need to know clarity on my dream client." Instead of my brain shutting off and going, "Heard that before. Tell me something I don't know." It's like, how did they say that? Did they use a word that I've never heard before, or did they phrase it in a different way? That's what I'm looking for. So my detective hat is always on. And sometimes it's just
So
like, yeah, I need clarity on my dream clients. Go ahead.
yeah, so have you, just thinking about that, because often if we find one word different, it is to be curious about that, but not necessarily to take that as this is the new language. Like
Right.
it could be a one-off. So
Right.
I wonder, if you've ever, and you could likely do this in Notion now, um, when you find that new word, to actually see whether it is a new word or if it's one you haven't noticed before. Or maybe it's come up once or twice, or maybe even three times, and you kind of went, those are just one off. Like if you've ever had that happen where you might have said, this isn't quite the right word, like this isn't showing up as often as I want, and then you don't see it as often, and then later find it come back again, and see if have you
Yeah.
ever been
So like, you're
in
right.
that? See whether it is a, yeah, like,
You could, yeah, like we're getting into the technical side of it, but for anybody, but still, it's important because, like, just to show, showcase like how important this is and how further you can go, the depth of like what you can do more than anybody else. So even with a search or like a sorting of it, you can sort on the tag. Let's just call it feelings, and then sort by alphabetical of what they're saying. So if they're relatively close, let's call it clarity on dream client, and they're relatively close, they're all going to come together, right? And like you
yeah,
said, though that word may come up in one or two or three different ways that they've said it, and then yeah, you could now analyze and go, hey, wait a minute, there it is there it is over there it is over there, right? So you could
yeah.
easily do that,
you
and so it's
you can do
analyzing
that.
the data afterwards.
Yeah, and you can do that in Excel. You can search by
Yeah,
word.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. But can you see the only thing in like a spreadsheet? And I don't know because I don't use it enough. Is like the double searches is the double. I guess you could, right? You could give me all of the feelings, like so all the X's, and then those will all show up at the top. And then can you
Yeah,
sort by alphabetical, or let's say by alphabetical, so you can see
yeah.
give me all of the desires or whatever, and then alphabetical here. That's why I love Notion because you can just do multiple filters, right? But
Well,
we got to start somewhere, so like
yeah,
just at least get a spreadsheet and yeah.
I was even thinking if there was somebody was just noticing, um,
Hey Jeffrey.
like overwhelm, that it hadn't shown up before, but it did now. But now they wonder if they've missed it, in like if it's shown up somewhere else that they didn't catch it. I
Yeah,
would just search for overwhelm. Like I would just search for that word.
for
And
sure.
look
Like, and
at
those become
it.
buckets for me. Like once I see words like overwhelm and uh, clarity, like those kind of things, those become major buckets. Okay, so
Yeah,
what about clarity? What are they looking for clarity now? Because it's a lot about dream clients, but then there's clarity on other things, and those become major, bigger buckets for me. So
yeah,
I'm always trying to sort the data every which way but loose. So then when I'm looking for a certain a certain thing that I want to talk about, like okay, this is I want to stress for lack of a better term, like join that list so that you can. Okay, then I'm looking for a desire, right?
yeah,
I'm looking for like okay, what do people want? So I'm going to go and look for a desire, or I could also be looking for an obstacle, so that you don't have to go to an obstacle and pick an obstacle and insert that into the right. It just makes
yeah,
everything so easy.
yeah. It does. I was just thinking, we've talked a lot about what to do with the data, and like
Mm-hmm.
where to put it and sort it, but we never really. we might have put the cart before the horse a little bit because we didn't talk about where they're getting the data.
Okay, yeah, true. See, we just go off. Okay, so let's talk about where where can they get the data?
Yeah. So where you start.
Okay. Well, my favorite places, as you know, are Facebook groups because people are talking there. I love Facebook groups, and for there's also Amazon. Like I like using Amazon quite a bit when I'm doing a research on a topic, and I want to find out what am I missing? What are people missing in the books or whatever? And I know you can talk about that too. But like Facebook groups are the big ones for me. And I also reference Quora a lot because Quora's got all these
Yeah.
like pretty much they ask any question that you can think of, and there's all kinds of answers, and there's all kinds of different opinions in there. So you can majorly go down rabbit holes there. But if you, for me, I find once once I get my Facebook groups that I'm always in, then a lot of the data is just sitting right there in front of me. So I'll stop there because I don't want to. I want to give you some
Yeah.
room here
Well,
to add some.
I be the similar is that I like the Facebook groups more. Um, like there just seem to be more like actual conversations, although Quora can get quite interesting. Reddit is another one, depending on the industry. At least, like there's been some
Yeah,
things
I
I
haven't
found.
spent a lot of time on Reddit, but yeah, you're right. Reddit is another one.
I was doing some work on real estate. Like there was lots of things in Reddit on real estate when I was looking for that kind of information. Um, the Amazon, but I have a question about Amazon. I guess
Hmm.
a couple of other places before we get to that. I'll go back because one of the other ones that I've used and is sometimes helpful, and again sometimes not, is the whether it's answer the public or ask the public. I think it's ask the public,
I think it's yeah,
or is
whatever.
it
Answer the
answer?
public. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
answer.
answer the public. Um, yeah, you can tell that I don't bookmark that or I don't pay attention to what it is. Uh, but because it will give you some of the keywords as well. But sometimes it's, I've gone through some of their lists and it's just the same word over and over and over again. So I either that or have to ask my question in a
Yeah,
different way. And I think you can get 3 searches a day for free. So
yeah.
at least the last time I used it. But I have a question about the Amazon because I've heard two different views on looking at the reviews. And when we're talking about getting the information from Amazon, we're looking at reviews on books. So
Yeah,
generally,
yeah. We're looking for
the books
books.
on your topic, um, the way what was suggested to me is that, if you can get a book that's got 100 reviews, that's good. Like 50 is, you could likely get enough data. If there's only like 5 or 6 reviews, then likely they're mostly friends or colleagues, and may not be accurate reviews. But some will say, and this is what I was taught, was pretty much usually to ignore the the 1 star reviews and the 5 star reviews, because
Mm-hmm.
the 1 star reviews are people who are never happy about anything,
Mm-hmm.
and the 5 star reviews are usually, again, the friends, the colleagues, the people they've asked us to support them. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
there's 500 5 star reviews, then you might want to go through them. But is to look at the
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, and 4 star reviews, that those ones are likely the best ones to look at. And you're looking at for, what we call the hyper responses, the ones
That's
that,
right.
they're writing paragraphs or they're writing a book of their own, not just someone who's put in 4 words. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I was going to say the same thing, and I don't ignore the ones and fives because sometimes there are, even though they might, like the ones are like victims, like the I'm never happy type of thing.
Yeah.
There still might be language in there that I could use for, and again, it goes into the chain of beliefs. So what are what are people believing before they buy from me? And it's not that they're victims, but they might believe some of those things, or it's not really that they believe it. Let me correct myself. But they're hearing other people say it. So it gets into their subconscious. It's like it goes back to the empathy map, right? What do they hear? It's kind of like
Yeah.
you go to a seminar, like a power seminar, and you're like, oh, you're all hyped up, right? And then you
Yeah.
get in your car and you drive down the highway and you turn on the radio and all you hear is like news and bad news and all these kind of things, and right that you're back to like, oh, your whole hype is gone. And you see billboards that are talking about certain things, and you're now you're seeing and you're hearing what other people are saying, but you
Yeah.
just came from this other thing, right? So what's the environment that they're in? That's why I look at those other things, because other people are reading it and think, am I missing something? Maybe, right? So I'm always curious, but I'm totally focused on the middle ground. What is that? And the other thing is to this point, which is another area, which is kind of like an Amazon for me, that I would probably, well, I shouldn't say I'd go to first, but a lot of people miss out on Udemy. And
Oh, yeah.
Udemy, or however you say Udemy or Udemy or however it's pronounced, is fantastic because it's the same thing. It's like, I hate this guy. I don't like the way that they delivered this thing, and they're missing this and they're missing that, and I love this. And then there's the middle piece. It's just brilliant, especially for us because we're building courses,
Yeah.
right? And everybody says, "Oh, they missed this. If they did this, it would be the best course ever." But I love the way they did this. And you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I forgot to go there. I mean, there's old ones I don't even know I haven't used for years, like Spy Fu.
Yeah, all yeah, all
Um,
that stuff. Yeah, but
I
they
mean,
like,
yeah, I can't imagine that we get what we used to get from there for free anyway. And I can't
but it
remember
doesn't
the other.
have to be that in depth. Like we're going now into the major depths where that's where I find we lose a lot of people who just, oh my god, I can't even think about what you're talking about. It's more like, oh, I can go to Udemy or I can go to Amazon and see what you're doing here, right? Like make it really simple for everybody to look. It's right there in front of you. You don't have to have all these other insights and
Yeah,
similar webs and all these sites. Like you don't need to go do all that kind of research, right? Go to one or
no,
two of the competitors if you have a couple competitors, see what's on their page, see what they say about it. Don't rip them off or anything, but it's like, okay, this is what they're saying the problems are, right?
yeah,
It's not really that difficult if you spend a little bit of time, 1 or 2 weeks, kind of looking at it, and you'll have more data than you know what to do with. And then if you get
yeah.
into the habit of engaging, if you're doing engagement and reading posts or being actively involved, and it's an endless supply.
Well, I mean, there is nothing like Facebook, which is why I forget things about like Udemy
Yeah.
because but it's really helpful for me to remember, like to be reminded, because I there are only a few, like I've only found a few widows groups, and some of them are not really very active at all. Like this one is really active, but I've not, you know, I've not spent a lot of time in it. So, like as far as like kind of doing answering the questions and doing some of that, because I've been in my own group. But I mean, for pretty much any kind of research, like it's Facebook, Amazon, Quora, um, they're, and now I guess I'll add Udemy. Um, but I wanted to say one of the, um, if this is helpful for anyone, I hope it's helpful for almost everyone, because one of the things that was the it was a challenge for me to get into the habit, and I'm out of it again, so I need to set my own challenge again. But to get into doing it and doing it enough to actually understand why it works so well and why it's important to put that front thing in. So when I was taking right marketing copy, I think I went through it twice, but I think this was the first time. I was also in a personal development program at the time, and we had a 30-day challenge to do one thing every day for 30 minutes that would help propel us forward in one of our goals. So that's what I chose to do for my 30 minutes every day for 30 days, was to do 30 minutes of market research.
Mm.
And like I ended up with, I don't know what, 65 pages or something
Yeah.
that I ended up with at the end of the 30 days. But like, honest to goodness, setting that challenge, um, there was days because I was doing ad campaigns at the time. I don't know what else I was doing, but I know that I was up sometimes till midnight or 1 in the morning. And I remember like one really late night. It was likely during a launch for somebody, but like I hadn't done my 30 minutes, so here I was like at 2:30 in the morning doing my 30 minutes because I made the commitment.
Love that.
So I guess the point, the reason I'm saying that is because I think we need to make the commitment when we want to get started, like when to get started on it. And so whether it's 20 minutes, 10 minutes would likely be, I mean, would get you started, but you likely want at least 20 minutes. And most of us, if we commit, we can shift something 20 minutes a day and do it and just do that for 30 days and see where you get to. Um, if they can figure out how to find those beliefs, they can highlight those, whether it's a belief or a feeling or a desire or an obstacle, um, get those highlighted in there as well, and just see where that can go to being able to write whatever it is that you need to write.
Yeah, I think like it's really about how important it is to your business, right? Because it's
Yeah.
always the same challenges. At least for me, I always see the same challenges, and one of them is I don't have the right marketing message, and yeah, I can help, I can give insight, but I don't know. Like, and the only person who knows is your market, and
Yeah.
so the trick is doing exactly what we've been talking about here. Go and have more conversations, and that when I say that, it's about anything, reading through threads, reading in the Facebook group, whatever, going through old emails and looking at responses you did to your customers, whatever it is, having those conversations. Because we're talking about, if you're just joining us, by the way, we're talking about the three most important pieces of customer or dream client insight, which are beliefs, understanding what they believe about almost everything, like about themselves, about their attitude toward you and your product, towards the industry, all that kind of stuff. You're looking also for desires. What do they truly desire? Underneath the wants and needs. The wants and needs are like I want to have more freedom. Well, that's not the desire. The desire is probably something else that
Yeah.
is connected to freedom. And then there's feelings. What do they feel? How do they feel about their situation, about moving forward, about anything? Those are the three main components. If you just start there, I think that you'll have you're looking for clues of what those are. So those are the three. But where was I going with this? There's a reason I went off on a tangent there. Um,
Just a minute. I'll go into Notion and see if I can find it.
yeah, uh, it's just getting to into the habit of, like you said, capturing everything that you're doing for 20 minutes, even if you don't capture, like just getting into the habit of going in and looking for stuff, looking for things that pique your interest. Because I've been teaching this for a long time, like how to get in customer information or whatever it is. And one of the biggest drawbacks is I didn't find anything. And there could be a whole bunch of reasons why, but let's say it's legitimately that you didn't find anything. That wasn't a waste of 20 minutes. Like, it just wasn't. It's you're building a habit of doing that consistently every day. Because some days it is dry. There's absolutely nothing. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Like some days there's gold mines all over the place, and some days there's not. And then you just say, "Oh, yay!"
Yeah,
There's,
made up for the other days.
yeah, exactly. Well, you just made. I just something else came to mind with the 20 minutes. I mean, this. I I was going back into posts, mostly Facebook posts. I think was on pretty much what I did during that 30 minutes of looking. Was all in, likely all in Facebook at the time, I think. But if people wanted to take like your suggestion of, like, when you see something, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. If you did the copy paste as just all the time that you're on Facebook, you copy paste, and then spend your 20 minutes going through
Yeah,
looking for the the beliefs, feelings, and desires,
that's
and
right.
obstacles. So there's a couple of ways to do it, and I think that would be. the habit of grabbing that information right when you're there is, I mean, I think that's the best way to do it. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like that's the first step of getting information. It's not it's not doing the analysis and all that stuff up front, because that's where you're going to get bored, or you don't know how you're going to use it and all these other things. And so that'll frustrate you. It frustrates me too. Like, well, how am I ever going to use this? I never ask that question, never anymore. It's I just, as soon as I write or as soon as I see something that, if I stop and read something for longer than 2 seconds, I'm like, okay, this stopped me for some reason, and I have no idea why, and I don't really care why. I trust my gut and I put it in, and I may never ever go back to that piece of paragraph again. I might never. Or when I scan through it like later on, which is what I want to get to, which is the batching of it, the batching of progressive summarization, or picking out, the parts that are beliefs, desires, and feelings. That could be a batch. You could do it right at the end of the week. You could do it once a month. But as
yeah,
long as you're instilling the habit of copying and pasting, that kind of triggered me for some reason. Don't know why. Don't care. Could be good. You always have the ability to, like, you know what, this is one day where I feel mentally prepared that I want to stay now for an hour and kind of look through this. And then you get to that piece that you captured a month ago, and you read it and you go, why the hell did I save this? Delete it. Like, now you're in the mode of, this makes no sense whatsoever. Right. I wouldn't really delete it. There's very, very rare things that I would delete.
yeah,
Right. I just don't highlight it. It's just like, okay, that didn't make any sense. But there has
yeah,
been the odd thing like, that's crazy. I don't even know why I would need that. Because then we judge ourselves too much. And that's a whole other discussion on
yeah,
how do you, actually pick out the pieces that are worth saving.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I ran into that with the grabbing the stuff from the, like, my saved posts, because there was and I have no idea why I thought this was important at the time, because I do not touch the field of widows who decide to go dating.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not there. I don't have, I like, that's not my, like, whatever they, I mean, it's fine. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have no judgment on anybody, but it's just not my expertise nor my experience. So, like, I don't have any any reason to be in that realm. But I copied there. She must have said something that caught my eye to start with, and then there had to have been about 60 posts, like, comments on it,
Mm.
and like none of them are anything related. But I've had to make that decision. Like, do I, it's like, because it takes up a lot of space in my Word doc.
Yeah. Then you may delete that.
But, I just went, is there ever going to be, like, could there be a day where something to do with dating, or like maybe there is something about, like, maybe there's an objection in there, or there's an obstacle that I
Yeah.
can
True.
relate to, something, that is, so I left it because I don't know that I might not need it. And I don't know whether that's the right thing or not, but I can't go back and get it again.
Yeah. See, that's the cool thing too. Like, especially with digital, you can either leave it there if it's in a Word doc or whatever, or you could create another doc and move it over there so it's kind of out of sight, but you still know you have it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I know that I'm not going to be doing anything with dating, but at least I still have this dating thing over there that I want to see. So that's another option for you, just to keep your notes a little bit clearer based on what you're totally talking about. Because, like, you're right. Like, if I come along something where it's a lot about, I don't know, Facebook ads or something like that, like, I don't really reference it a lot, but if there's references to, well, in order to build your business, you need to do cold advertising or something like that. Like, I'll keep stuff like that. But if it goes into like major depths of all, like, I don't really need to reference any of that. The major thing is, my belief is, to start out, you don't need to do that at this point. So I'll reference those kind of beliefs or comments or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's totally important.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great episode. Thank you, Lorna.
You're welcome.
Anything anything you want to leave us off with? Any final thoughts?
No, just go do the market research. And if you, like, join the Facebook group if you're not in the group, because there you can ask questions too.
Yeah, we're both in there pretty much every day. So I'll put that in there in the group when we're, or in the comments right now, if you want to join that group. Amazing. Lorna, thank you so much. I know we'll see you again. It's been a pleasure.
You.
And hopefully you have an amazing, amazing night. And you watching as well. We'll see you next Tuesday, same time, 7 o'clock, for the Heart Centered Marketing Show. Thank you. Talk to you soon.